Well, hello, it's Connie Pheiff, and you're listening to the Connie Pheiff Show. I'm known as the Unstoppable Diva, and so many folks know me from that. I've been known as the Queen of Marketing. You name it, I've been called it. But I'm here leading the Connie Pheiff Show. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. And please keep sharing. And please keep the comments coming our way because I love to hear from you. I love to hear the feedback. And I want to know what it is that you want to hear from us. I mean, we do focus on bringing you those experts, those talented individuals that are really shaking things up in today's world, whether it be from technology, leading corporations, leading foundations, associations, but they're really mixing things up and changing for the better of all of us. So you want to stay tuned because today's guest, oh my God, I didn't even meet her. When I started reading through her information, I have to say to you, I just loved her. She's a stick of dynamite. I mean, she's a spark plug. She's a founder and CEO of In Her Shoes, which is a nonprofit organization. And you know this is going to be true and dear to my heart, a nonprofit organization that is helping young women to be innovators and tap into their level of what it is that they have inside of them to bring out that courage, that confidence, as we always say in Girl Scouts. But she works with them to really tap into their level of empathy in such a diverse world through technology and everything else. And there's so much more, and she's going to be sharing that in just a minute. But what it would be like for you if you were to sit down and you would look years from now and then to say, what would you be like in your own shoes? What would that look like? So again, oh my God, I just met her today. We just started having the conversation and I am just so in love with her. And I want to welcome right now to the Connie Pheiff Show, Judith Martinez. I was so excited, Judith, I couldn't even get that out.
I am too. I was just buzzing, trying to be quiet as we're speaking. Hi, Connie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so thrilled that you're here. So you're in her shoes. I want to start by asking you what was the premise? I mean, what was it that got you so inspired to start this organization?
Yeah, my goodness. I think there were so many. I think the really big moments are actually consisted of so many small ones. But I think one particular moment for me was, ironically enough, getting my law school application, pretty much getting the acceptance letter from the dream law school that I always envisioned myself living, that for me equated success. And I think it's really funny when sometimes the thing that we think we really want and what we need and what is the epitome of what life in perfection looks like, sometimes it happens only for you to realize it's actually not what you want at all. And it's not authentic to who you are and what you really want to pursue in your life. So that for me was really the big momentous kind of action that put me into ultimately creating what is now In Her Shoes.
And so many people talk about that. I mean, I could even say for me now, you're millennial, I'm not. But I mean, I know even for me, I said we were groomed for success. We were, go to college, get a successful job. This is what you were going to do. And I loved what I did before. But I know that what I'm doing now really feeds my soul of helping other people, those who have put themselves out there and said, I want to start an association. And you also have this around the globe. You have it in other locations as well.
Yes. Our headquarters is in Los Angeles in Southern California. And we also have chapters in San Francisco, New York City, Austin, Texas. And just recently this year, we launched overseas in Bali, Indonesia, working with the young women there.
Bali, I get so many people calling me, asking, we have the women here. And from what I understand, now again, I've never been there. I fully don't know the culture, and you could probably educate me on that. But from what I understand, they're highly intelligent, highly educated women.
Yes, absolutely.
But their challenge is finding the jobs.
Yes.
Okay. Is finding the role for them. So how are you able to help them through the programming that you do?
I think I loved what you just shared around, sometimes you can have so much skill and talent and potential, but what good is it if you don't have access to the resources or the opportunity or the actual platform for you to utilize that potential? And so I think for us, it's a duality of both a internal discernment of really refining, well, who are you? What are you good at? What are the areas that you actually want to improve on? And on the other hand, how do you bring that into action? And what are the companies, the organizations, the fellow women who are creating those spaces for you to step into? And so by no means am I also claiming that we have this formula figured out, because it's such a learning curve for us expanding internationally as well. But I'd say that ultimately providing them two sides of the same coin of really being able to look within themselves and then putting that into action.
Okay. And showing them that there is something greater out there for them, and there's many different opportunities. They just have to search for that and go looking for that.
Right.
And again, whatever, feeds them, feeds their soul. So you talk about building a brand. So you talk about a lot of branding and how people, and I talk about branding. It's really, your gift that you wrap into a package that you give and you let other people know. So I read that you talk about building a brand in the long run and not just for the moment or a bit of time. So tell me a little bit more about that. What's your definition of that?
Yeah. So I think at least within how we've grown over the past 4 or 5 years really is telling a story for the long term that people really of any age background can relate to, but also still being able to speak to the specific moments that can capture someone's attention and have them join your community. So when we talk about building a brand for the future, the long run, sometimes it's really easy to get lost into the day-to-day. What are the specifics? What's the post? What's my message in this moment? Versus what's the actual storyline? What are you really telling people that is the narrative of what your brand is all about?
So let's be honest, you're a millennial that we already mentioned.
Yes. Guilty.
I love working, like my whole team is all around me are millennials. It's just so refreshing. I'll just be honest. But also the challenge that I see is you're a millennial. And you're building this organization in her shoes. I mean, you've gone international. How are you navigating those waters? How are you? I'll just put it out there. How are you getting people to take you serious?
Yes. Wow. Great question.
Let's just get right to it.
All of a sudden, Connie. Yeah, and I'm so glad that you actually bring this, because, more times than not, for me, being a millennial, it's not just being a millennial, it's being a young female millennial that is a first generation student, that is immigrant, that, all the conversation of intersectionality is unending, I feel like, for this day and age. And so I think for me, it was really, I'll be honest, it was really difficult for people to take me seriously in the beginning. And funny enough, it wasn't just from the external world, but it was even from my own family. Like, I remember when I told them, I'm not going to law school anymore. I'm actually going to create an organization that's focused on social entrepreneurship.
I'm sure that went over real well.
I'll tell you one thing. The first words wasn't, I'm proud of you. That was definitely not the conversation at the dinner table. It was really challenging. And to some extent, it still is, just 5 years out. But I think what the opportunity that has provided me as a founder, as a young woman, as a woman of color, is that much more the importance of refining my story and being able to powerfully encapsulate the human experience of what it is that Inner Shoes is about. Because courage and fear is universal. Anyone.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
So I think really having the wherewithal to face those difficult conversations and to speak up and to honestly, it's funny. I just think about the rooms or the the handful of grants that I remember we would send in just for someone to give us some kind of resource in the beginning.
Right.
And it's hard. It's really challenging,
Yeah.
but you just got to keep doing it. And thanks to people like you and your show, for example, it allows us to expand our reach and to build a community around it.
Wow. Yeah, the first one is always the hardest to do, but again, like you said, once you get there and once you have a name, and I'm certain your family is truly proud of the work that you're doing and that you stood. You stood for yourself.
Yeah. Yes,
I mean, you right.
A long way.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. I mean, and I was older than you, and I got the same thing. You want to do what? You went to college all these years, and you're doing what?
What are you doing? Yes, absolutely.
So what's the slashy generation? Explain that.
Okay.
I was like the what?
The what? Yes. So a wonderful woman that I've had the opportunity to work with, her name is Jennifer Puno, although recently she changed her name to Puno. So she's actually Puno now. She's worked with us at Inner Shoes, and long story short, we were talking about this a while back about how millennials, this generation, and quite frankly, the generations coming after us are part of this slashy generation where you're not just one thing anymore. You're a multi-purpose, multi-passionate, multi-skilled person. And, it's funny because I think it's highlighted. I see it so much in urban cities, but especially here in LA, I'm a waiter / actor / comedian / right. And so we just live in that world, I think, the slashy generation.
I think, and no, you're absolutely true, because I mean they seen the generations before them, their parents working in the same job, retiring after working there. I had actually a woman that I worked with before. She actually, like, we hung on to her so she could celebrate working at the same company for 50 years.
Oh my goodness, what a milestone.
In the same job.
That's
Now, could you imagine doing the same thing every single day for 50 years? The company actually wanted to let her go at 48, but like we begged them. We're like, no, like we need to, let's make it to the 50 years. The company was closing and they were starting, to let people go, but they hung on to her she got her 50-year mark. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But I mean, just I know you're laughing. You're like, what is that?
Possible today.
Right. I don't think it is possible today.
Yeah. Unless you're working for yourself, I would think.
Unless you're working for yourself. Most entrepreneurs, though, I believe, I mean, they'll be doing the same thing, or maybe it's within the same company, but they're always heading on. What's the next thing? What's the next? I know me, I've been doing this for 12 years. I can go back probably 12 times and, and I'm always like reinventing. Where are we going next? Where are we going next? And right now for the last 2.5 years, I'm at a place I get finally, after 12 years, finally found my niche and what I really love doing. So, and it takes time too. And I'm sure, like I said, we're relocating later this year so we could add on another location. We're
exciting.
Maybe I'm in the millennial age and I don't know.
You're a millennial at heart.
Right. That's why I work with that. That's why I work with so many millennials. So, so where do you know what? I need to take a really break. I love talking to you, but I really do need to take a break or my team will slap my hand.
Okay.
When we come back, I want to know more about the events that you're doing, that you have coming up soon.
Great.
Alrighty, hang in there. And we're back, and you're listening to the Connie Pheiff Show. I'm Connie Pheiff, and our unstoppable guest today is Judith Martinez. Let me tell you, this girl's got moxie. So, Judith, you have some programs coming up in Seattle.
Yes.
And also in LA. So what are they all about?
Yes. So our upcoming event that is happening in Seattle will be taking place on September 14th. So if you're in the area, please, we would love to have you. Or even if you're not, come fly in and hang out for the weekend. We're going to be working with some amazing organizations that's really focused on cultivating the courage and the community of women that are stepping into new leadership in Seattle. So we're partnering with this amazing organization and company called Real Self. And it's all going to be focused on supporting women, not only in the corporate space and how can you be innovative within a company, but also inviting young people in to really see, wow, like what does this world of entrepreneurship, both within a company and outside of one, look like? So we'd love to have you there. And the other event that we're having in Los Angeles is going to be geared in the fall, and it's all around really supporting your preparation for the new year, but also if you're a student, because we work with a lot of students, how can you really tap into the resources that you have as a high schooler, as an incoming college student, to really make the most out of your education and really have it launch you into a career and a pathway that you're really passionate about.
Wow.
That was a lot. Sorry.
No, I mean, I'm just in awe of the work that you were doing. And again, working with any programs with young women, of course, is really dear to my heart. So I just love seeing. It was actually the girls at camp that named me queen.
That's so great.
Because I would go there and not tell them who I was. And a real funny story, the one day, because I would just pop in, because I like to go visit them, especially during summer camp, put my Girl Scout hat on.
Love it.
Get my Girl Scout on. Excuse me. So I had called our camp director that morning, just to give her a heads up that I was coming. And somebody else answers the phone, and I asked for Rachel, and she says, "Who's calling?" And I said, "Connie." And she drops the phone. She passes out. Now we would always take in a lot of international students. And so Rachel, calls me back, and she's like, "Oh my God, what did you say to her?" And I was like, "Nothing." I just said, "Connie's coming." She's like, "Oh my God." So this was her first time at the camp. And the night before, they did campfire stories. Well, at that Camp Louise, the campfire story at the point was there was a girl named Connie that went into the water and drowned. And a horrid story, but it was a campfire story. And her name was Connie. So when this new counselor, when I said Connie, she passed.
She thought you were coming back from the afterlife.
So when I arrived, I went over, I said, "Which one is she?" I tapped her on the shoulder, and I went, "I'm Connie." So they named me the Queen. So yeah, so that's how I got the name Queen. So
that's so great. What a great story.
I know, it's funny. So I just love, like I said, working with women, and the work that you were doing is just phenomenal. So we're going to jump in now to straight talk.
Okay.
All right, Judith, this is the good stuff. So I want you to start by answering this sentence, or finishing this sentence for me. Okay. I am an unstoppable woman because
I empower other women.
Nice. Very, very, very nice. So a couple of questions then. What has been one of your toughest falls or failures?
I'm quiet, not because there aren't any, it's because there's so many, and I'm trying to pick one that I can share about. One of the first ones that come to mind was, especially in the beginning, learning the value of team and teamwork, and also, who is the right team. And I think it's kind of like cultivating a relationship, or who you are at the age of, 18, 22, 27, 35, et cetera, is different persons. And I think even with the growth of a company, of an organization, it's a little different too during those different stages. And I think one of the biggest failures and kind of challenges that I've really learned from has been learning one, how to cultivate a team, but two, who are the right people to surround yourself with that can actually
Good point.
support you in your own growth. And it was a very humbling experience. And I remember bringing on someone into the team, and I thought that we were on the same page, and I thought we were kind of going the same direction. And it just completely went sideways to the point where,
Mm.
it led to this moment of definitely me doubting my own leadership, doubting if I could do this. Was I capable? Am I crazy? Maybe we should just shut this all down. I think this is maybe
Mhm.
work out. And that for me was a really difficult time to, one, really reassess myself as a person, but also, did I even believe in this thing that I was so passionate about before?
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's been one of the biggest, setbacks that has definitely pushed me to grow.
It's really a growth, and I'm not going to say that I've never been through that, because I have. And it's really hard sometimes to get that right team around you. What I like to call is your cabinet. The ones, they're the truth tellers. They're going to be open, and they may not always be the ones that you're working with on a day to day, but that cabinet that you have around you that you can go to and rely on. And I had a situation just last year,
Mm.
and I had shared a few minutes ago that I considered taking this other job, and that was why.
Wow.
Because we were preparing for our showcase, and we had such demand and such interest, we actually crashed the website with
Wow.
people trying to register. And about 2 weeks out, this all took place. And I mean, there were like trolls and social people just like throwing you under the bus and saying, like, you should have had your hands on this and had your handle on this. But sometimes, I mean, you don't know. And I like the one saying that I've heard: if you're going to fail, always fail forward.
Yes, absolutely.
Not backwards. Fail forward. Take a look at what happened. How can you change that? And for me, at that point, I was relying on my team to take care of this,
Mhm.
and I was blind to see otherwise. In my mind, they're over here, they're taking care of that. I could be over here taking care of something else and what I need to. So I wasn't paying attention over here. That was the biggest lesson that I learned: to stop being so trusting, or
Mm.
at least have my hands on the pulse of what's going on. So when something does happen, I know how to quickly bring it back, because like I said, when that happened, it just, my mind was blown, and I was like, okay, I was ready to throw the towel in.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
so, like I said, after a lot of meditation, after, some different things that happened, I took about a month break, and then said, okay, we're going to regroup. We're going to put this together. And I came back stronger. And what I'm hearing, you did the same thing. You didn't let that bring you down. Rather, you gained momentum, and you said, no, I'm going to do this, and no one's going to bring me down. Um, it's that negative talk that we give to ourselves sometimes. And so that was, again, a lesson learned. And even for our listeners, I just want them to really hear this part, because there are going to be that negative speak, that's going to come from other people, those gremlins, those voices we put in our own head sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
And you need to push through that. You really, really do need to push through that. So where does your fear come from?
I've noticed I've thought about this quite often. I think
Okay.
having an organization that's so committed to having courage as the DNA and the crux of what we do, it would be
Mhm.
very foolish of me to not look at my own self, right? And what is it that I'm afraid of? And a lot of my fear, I've realized, comes from this very old, boring story of not being enough in very different packages.
Okay.
Not being old enough, not being knowledgeable enough, not being, whatever enough, tall enough. I'm 4'11", so there's just the conversation of am I enough just kind of imprints itself in different shades, in different conversations.
Okay.
So I think that's where a lot of the fear that I've had has stemmed from.
Okay.
But it's also very liberating to be able to recognize that it's just kind of a conversation
Yes.
there, you know. Yeah, that's kind of what my own story is.
Well, you're definitely proving them and yourself that you can do this, that you are living the true mission of your organization, and that is to have the courage to move forward, to push past through that.
Thank you.
So, when you live bravely, I love asking this question. When you live bravely, we're all living our truth. So what is your truth, your North Star that really guides your way in life?
Man, what is my truth and my North Star? You know, for me, I would say it truly is living a life where I'm alive, like what has me come alive, and really what has me come alive is seeing others come alive themselves, and really being a contribution. Really, I think at the end of the day, you know, speaking of millennials, right? I mean, why not? We've been talking about it for this. Speaking of millennials and being in this digital age, and the era of the influencer, for example, I think what we really want, we say that we want to be influencers. What we really want is just validation that we influence things. That what we have to say means something, and it can impact thoughts and feelings and people, and we do. And I think that's the great thing, and also kind of the dangerous thing, is to not recognize that we do have an impact, that you are actually an influencer. You are someone's Oprah. You are someone's favorite notification. And I think that for me is a North Star, and having people see that in themselves, and in turn, that has me see myself in that same way. So
I led a panel discussion a few years back, and the conversation or the discussion was on the different generations. So we had a baby boomer, we had a Gen X, we had a male, when we had a millennial. And the one question that I still recall, the question that I had asked to the millennial and woman is, what is the best way? Because everybody in the audience, they provided questions, and this one came up many, many times. What is the best way for different generations to communicate with you?
That's great. Are you asking me that now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll share her answer, and I mean that's really why it still resonates with me today. It was really simple. And you could tell me if you agree or disagree. Her answer was really simple, and the answer was, just ask me.
Yeah.
I want to participate too. I want to, put a foot in there, and, into the audience. I mean, I thought her answer was brilliant. Just ask me. And she goes, there was once upon a time that you were my age.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so and like I said, I just remember that. I mean, do you agree with that? Just ask.
Yeah, I do agree with it. It's funny when you mentioned that. When you first asked me, what came into my mind was, just listen. We're already telling you. I think
listen.
I think there's the millennial generation, and especially the Gen Z generation coming up behind us. You don't really prompt any one of us. We're just going to tell you what we think. And so I think, to her point, this young woman that you spoke to, absolutely, just ask. And, if you do ask, are we willing to listen? Can we listen? And it's not even a one-way street either. I think it's intergenerational. Can I listen to my parents, for example, when they gave me their opinions on what I was doing, and vice versa? So I think it's brilliant, and I definitely agree. Just ask and just listen.
Well, you brought up a really good point. We won't be afraid to tell you.
I mean, I haven't encountered any millennial or any Gen Z individual that was.
My team is all millennials, and trust me, some days I'm like, all right, I got it.
I got it the first time. I got it.
I got it. And yes, and you want to be heard.
Yeah.
They'll keep telling me until I acknowledge it. I got it. I'll get back to you on that one. But that's, I mean, that's true with anybody, with any generation. You offer your opinion, you want that acknowledgement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the person on this end needs to say, I'll take it into consideration.
Absolutely.
I'll get back to you on that. Awesome, awesome. I love chatting with you. I mean, I can continue doing this for the rest of the afternoon, but we can't. We do need to go. So let our listeners know how they can find you and more about your programs.
Absolutely. So anyone who's listening, you can find us online on our website at www.inhershoesmovement.org. And you can follow us on social media at inhershoesmovement. And we'd love to have you follow along and join the community.
Well, you are listening to Judith Martinez. And Judith, thank you. Thank you for being here. I love the work that you're doing and continue to be unstoppable.
Thank you, Connie. I appreciate it. And thank you to all of your wonderful listeners. I really appreciate your time. Stay courageous.
Well, that's all we got for today. And I can't say it enough that I just love our tribe, our family, our members that continue to come back and follow us each and every week. So remember to share, 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 because sharing is caring. I'm Connie Pheiff, recovering C-suite CEO, and we are moving ideas forward and keeping the passion of life activated. And remember, if you want to be advertising with us, just head on over to theconniefeifshow.com, and that's where you find some of those fun details. And also be sure that you check out our agency, talentconcierge.co. And if you are looking to lift that business, if you have found that success, whether you're an actor, an executive, corporate executive, association executive, or an athlete, we will represent you. Just check out our agency at talentconcierge.co, because we are representing the world's most daring minds who are keeping the passion of life activated, because we do believe that we are unstoppable together. So here's a thought for today. I thought this was a pretty neat one. If you want to make everyone happy, sell some ice cream. You're listening to the Connie Pheiff Show. Remember, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to share it. Until next time, keep that passion of life activated.